this session. So by a show of hands, have you ever said or did something that you immediately regretted? Yeah, thank you, hands down. And would you like to experience what it's like to have a totally quiet mind and a peaceful heart despite anything else that's happening around you? Thank you. Tonight, we are going to talk about mental fitness. And I'm going to share something with you as we go right into this. I'm going to actually share my screen. Go. All right. This is one of the most, let's see, I'm going to ask everyone just for now to go on mute. And then Debbie, if you could support me in muting people as they come in. That way we can, we'll come to another. Not me though. But thank you for supporting me in that, Debbie, appreciate it. So mastering mental fitness. The neurons that fire together, wire together. And what's interesting is I show you this model of the brain is you see the different parts of our brain light up. And what I'm going to share with you tonight is the deep understanding that all events around us are neutral. But how we feel about any one given event is the energy or the feelings or the emotions we put on that event. And as we reinforce either positive thinking or negative thinking, what we come to understand is that those neurons will continue to wire together and fire together until that becomes our go-to. So I'm curious, put your hand up if you've heard this quote from Henry Ford. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, either way, you're right. Yeah. A lot of us have heard this quote, but I'm curious, what does it mean to you? And I'm going to just stop sharing for a second because I'm curious if someone wants to share what that quote means to you. Go ahead.
I'm happy to share.
Please do.
This quote means that you are what you believe, that it's within you to make that belief. And I know it's so simple to comprehend because it goes against logic. If you believe you can, you are right. If you believe you can't, you are right. But it's the simplest truth, but it's very hard to comprehend to the logical mind.
Beautiful. Zara, I could not have said that better myself. Thank you so much for that explanation.
You're welcome.
And what Zara just said is 100% correct. It is this idea of what we believe we live into. So if we believe we can do something, we will align all of our doingness into that belief. And if we believe we can't do something, we're going to find evidence to prove that we're right. And so that very particular quote is very powerful because it is the essence of what we're going to be talking tonight about when it comes to mental fitness. So I'm going to go back to my screen here. And I want to keep going in this conversation. Because as Zara daftly pointed out, as my favorite poet, Morpheus from The Matrix, like to say, there is a difference between knowing the path and walking the path. And I'll make this very clear. We all know what we need to eat to create a very long life and a very healthy body. And, you know, Enrica is on here tonight. She's a huge proponent of whole food, plant-based diets, as am I. I really appreciate what this means to really eat healthy. And yet, there's all this fast food and garbage food that we spend so much of our time eating. Why is that? Why are we in a nation of obese people? And it's really simple. because we perceive that eating healthy is hard. We perceive that eating junk food is easy. And what we believe, we act on. And so my question is, what if it were reversed? Instead of making the vegetables hard, if it was hard to eat the actual fast food, and it was easy to eat what we should be eating. Giving you a sense of what this means when we talk about mental fitness. But here's the thing. Dieting is one level, right? Making the right choice in the moment to eat the right foods, that's one thing. But we have a much bigger game going on right now. And I say game because it's what we're up to. We are playing in the game called life. And what we're seeing is the systematic pillars of racism being challenged globally. And good for it. Ultimately, we are showing Black Lives Matter. We're participating in protests. We are fundamentally shifting our country that was founded on pillars of racism that we are now shaking up. And it's important that we all think about what this means. Even COVID-19, how much we've had to be in this space where we are finding ourselves together in, lockdown, what they're talking about. And we're seeing people get divorced at higher rates. We're seeing a lot of really challenging times as people are losing their jobs and relationships are coming under stress simply because we no longer can connect the way we used to connect. And if you're thinking right now, well, I can't wait for all this to go away, this is why we're talking about mental fitness, because this may very well be our new normal. And the idea of judging where we are in this moment is not supporting where we want to go and where we want to land. So what is mental fitness? I'm going to give you the definition of the man who really was behind this movement. Shirzad Chamine, international best-selling author of Positive Intelligence, New York Times bestseller, translated into 20 languages and multiple countries. And if you read the subtitle, it says, why only 20% of teams and individuals achieve their true potential and how you can achieve it for yourself. So that's the essence of the book. And if you were to define what is mental fitness, it's your capacity to respond to life's challenges with positive rather than negative mindset. Peak performance, positive mind and wellness, healthy relationships. So what I want you to see in the context of mental fitness is just how important it is for us to control our thoughts, to understand the way that we filter in information and filter out information, because it does impact our performance, but it also impacts our wellness, literally our health, and the healthy relationships that we're committed to. This research was founded on a research study of 500,000 participants. Shirzad Chamine began this at Stanford as a lecturer, and this research spanned a global footprint, and it combines aspects of positive psychology, neuroscience, cognitive psychology, and performance science. And what I found was most brilliant about the work and why I really got attracted to it was the power of factor analysis. So what's factor analysis? It's the root cause of a thing. It's radical simplification. Now the example here is we all know that there's thousands and thousands of colors out there. And if you get into like the computer color code opportunities, there's actually millions of colors to work with. But at the root, there's only three: red, blue, yellow. And so you think about the power of factor analysis. If I tried to look at every single color and describe it, the problem I'm going to have is I'm going to try to describe all these variants. But if I can really talk about shades of red, blue, and yellow, I can really get to the simplicity of all color. So that's what we're doing here in terms of factor analysis from the research that was done on mental fitness. You have a saboteur interceptor, your sage, and your self-command muscles. In essence, we have our own inner Jedi and our own inner Darth Vader. Our inner Darth Vader is our saboteurs. We have 10 of them. Our inner Jedi is our sage, our 5 sage powers. And so let's start with the saboteur interceptor. Every single one of us has the judge. This is the voice inside of our head that says, you're not good enough. You're not blank enough. You're not rich enough. You're not skinny enough. You're not healthy enough. You're not popular enough. You're never going to get that promotion. Like that voice. That's our judge. And for some of us, that's not as strong as judging situations like the coronavirus, right? Oh my God, I can't believe this is happening to me. Why is this happening? Right? There's a judgment in that there's an event that's happening. And then, of course, there's judging other people. You're terrible, right? Or just even thinking it. Oh, this person's an idiot. Can't stand this person. I think we all know that there's people in our life that we think like that, even if we don't say it out loud. The judge's voice is getting us to think negatively about people, our circumstances, and ourselves. Now, if it was just the judge, then there would be one-on-one. It would be a one-on-one scenario where you have your judge and your saboteur fighting each other out. But why we lose a lot this battle is because the judge enrolls multiple saboteurs to support the judge in taking over in what we call an amygdala hijack. And so the way that works is, if for me, it was the controller and the hyperachiever, I lived my life for the first 45 years, well, living life, I should say, as far as I can remember, from about 12 years old till about 45, with my controller, who was constantly like, my way or the highway, I'm gonna get this done, and basically take no prisoners. And I built and exited 2 multi-million-dollar companies that way. So part of it's like, yeah, it worked, but it didn't, because I don't really think about the cost of what it cost me to do that. Same thing with my hyperachiever. I got to do a 140.6 mile Ironman. Yes, right? Achieve. I'm a 4th degree black belt, achieve. But in the process of doing all that, the thought is always, what's next? What's next? There's nothing about that that feels like I've accomplished. And therefore, I continuously feel like I'm not enough, because my hyperachiever keeps wanting to go to the next level. My controller wants me to do it a specific way and to do it on my own, because the controller believes that he can do it better than anyone else and doesn't trust his team. Restless is about, I can't stay put. You know restless people because they can't keep a job for more than 6 to 8 months. They got to move on to the next thing. They just can't stay there. Or they're in relationships and they only last 3 to 6 months because they just get restless. They got to move on. And then you've got the stickler. The stickler is like perfectionist, making sure that perfect, I won't even do it if I can't be perfect. And then we have the pleaser, who's constantly give until they have nothing left. When I was a child growing up, I read Shel Silverstein's The Giving Tree. It was the ultimate pleaser. The tree, give until there's a stump. That's what pleasers do. They literally deplete themselves until they got nothing left, and then they lash out at everyone. And everyone's surprised when they do it because they're such a giver, but they gave to such a level that they have nothing left. Hypervigilant, the sky is falling. When's the next shoe gonna drop? Right? We know all of these. The avoider, anything unpleasant, I'm just not gonna do it. I'll even tell you I'm gonna do it and then just not do it. We sometimes see these people as passive aggressive because they say yes and then they just avoid it at all costs. The victim, poor me, why it's always happened to me? And hyper rational, which is logical, like I'm going to always be in my head and never in my heart. I'm never going to take a risk that could damage me emotionally. And so when you add all these up, there will be different combinations for everyone, but we all have the judge. And there are 2 saboteurs that typically are the ones that are at the top. I'm going to show you how to take a free 5-minute assessment that'll help you understand which are the 2 most important ones for you. But for now, what I want you to know is that these saboteurs work together with the judge to actually hijack you. And we'll get into that in just a second. But here is how this looks. If you do the actual saboteur assessment, you're going to get a chart that looks something like this, which is going to say, this is your top 2 saboteurs. So in this example, it's stickler and hyperachiever, followed by restless pleaser, and all the way down to avoider. Not very much avoider in this particular profile, but there is a little, just a hair. But what stickler and hyperachiever is driving them. So let's look at that. Perfection and a need for order and organization taken way too far, right? That's where the stickler comes from. The characteristics, they're punctual, methodical, they're perfectionists. They can be irritable, tense, opinionated, sarcastic, highly critical of the self and others, strong need for control and self-restraint, works overtime to make up for other people's sloppiness and their laziness, right? That's the perception of the stickler. Anyone who's not at 100% all the time is either sloppy, lazy, or both. And they're highly sensitive to criticism because they perform at the 100%. And in their mind, they're always perfect, or they at least strive to be. So the minute they get any feedback of what's not working for them, their heads explode. They just can't take it. Their thoughts, this is right is right, wrong is wrong. I know the right way. You can do it perfectly, don't do it at all. Others often have to lack standards. I need to be more organized and methodical than others so that things get done. And I hate mistakes. And the feelings are constant frustration and disappointment with themselves and others for not living up to an ideal which is unattainable. When I got my black belt, my master instructor said, hey, I want you to see this. The color of your black belt is not black. It's midnight blue. And there's a reason for that. Because perfection is an illusion. We can try as hard as we want, we'll never get there. And we'll spend our whole lives, in this martial art, getting better and better and better, but we'll never reach perfection. And that should never be our standard. So what I'm sharing with you is, you can start to see the saboteurs are the Darth Vaders of our life. They come from the brain stem, which is the really beginning part of our brain. It's the first thing that gets developed in the womb. And therefore, it's what some people refer to as our lizard brain. It's literally our fight or flight reflex. And when we're in the experience of feeling like something's going to attack us, we get into that place of fight or flight. It's where we get what we call an amygdala hijack. It's part of our limbic system. It's the neuroscience of why we aren't ourselves, why we get activated, why somebody pushes my buttons, right? That's our brain stem, that's our limbic system, and it's part of our left brain. The right side of the brain, our inner Jedi, is a middle prefrontal cortex. It has empathy circuitry, and these parts of our right brain really drives that forward. So here's what I want you to take away from this part. Saboteurs motivate you through negative emotions, fear, stress, anger, guilt, shame, insecurity. The sage moves you through positive emotions, empathy, curiosity, creativity, passion, and purpose. So the saboteurs might generate success. As I mentioned, I went really far with my controller and my hyperachiever, but you're not going to get happiness. At 45 years old, I had reached financial freedom. I had built and exited 2 multi-million-dollar marketing agencies. I had so many positive things going on in my life. I have a beautiful wife, children, and I distinctly remember looking out at the beach in the ocean in St. Lucia on vacation. Should have been one of the most happiest times of my life. And I asked, is this all there is? And the reason I felt that way was because despite all my achievements, I never experienced that deep sense of fulfillment, that I'm enough and that I'm happy. So I look at the sage side, and that's what's really shifted for me. To generate your highest success and sustained happiness, the sage within, when we tap into our sage, that's what's going to really make the difference for us. Because not only can we achieve higher levels of success, but we'll also be able to really step into a happiness aspect and a fulfillment aspect and an enoughness that most people don't experience because they're constantly worried about what other people think. And also their saboteurs have them. So at this point, usually the number one question I get is, aren't negative feelings helpful to us? Come on. You know, these are drivers. You know, isn't this what we're supposed to feel and experience? And the answer to that is, imagine putting your hand on a hot stove. You'd want to feel it and immediately remove it. Ow. That's helpful. But what the saboteurs do is they hold the hand directly onto the stove. And when we hold our hand on the stove, that really serves no purpose. Those negative emotions don't support us. So negative emotions are only helpful for 1 second as an alert signal. Literally 1 second, ouch. And then we got to be able to immediately switch, because staying in these negative emotions hurts our ability to see clearly and respond with empathy, curiosity, creativity, or laser-focused action. If you're experiencing a negative emotion, then your saboteurs have you. So let's look at the sage. The sage lives in the region of the brain associated with positive emotions, peace and calm, clear-headed focus, creativity, and big picture, operates from the sage perspective. And here is the beautiful and challenging aspect of the sage, that every outcome or circumstance can be turned into a gift or an opportunity. Every outcome. And this is where most people get challenged. In fact, I'm going to stop for a minute because I've been going really long. I want to check in. I want to hear what you've heard so far. What are you picking up from this in this moment before I continue? Debbie, please.
That the stove, that really stood out to me, that, you know, touch it and then immediately take it off, because otherwise it just keeps hurting you with the negative emotions.
Thank you. Perfect. Thank you, Debbie. Thank you for sharing. Can we all give Debbie a hand for sharing? Thank you, Debbie. Woo! Who else has something that stood out for them in what we just shared? Yes, Mark, please.
That you have to recognize the interplay of what's going on in your mind, to be able to effectively navigate it through it in the way that's going to best serve you.
Yeah. Beautiful, Mark. Everyone give Mark a hand. Thank you, Mark. One more. Kevin, you had your hand up. Go ahead, Kevin. Oh, Kevin, you're on mute. Nope. Oh no, are you not connected to the audio? Ah, all right. I'll tell you what, Kevin, share in the chat. Give us a little chat function. I know you can do that. One more share. Someone else who wants to share who has audio. Adam, please go for it.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I just really appreciate, I'm a person that's visual, and I really appreciate the framework where you laid out the saboteurs, because I think we all experience those voices, but to have names to them and, you know, a little picture to go with it, very helpful for me personally.
Awesome. Thank you, Adam. Everyone give Adam a hand. Thank you, Adam. Woo! Appreciate it.
Hey, Bill, I think I got it fixed.
Oh, good. Kevin, please share. I'd love to hear you share.
I like the analogy about where you were talking about the different directions, where you put the fast food on the easy route and the good food on the hard route, and what if we switched it? And then when you started talking about like all the things we do, it's sort of like you are your own worst enemy at a lot of moments in life, and how that maybe that you need to, I guess, pay attention to those bad feelings that happen when you have those thoughts.
And it's both, Kevin, and I appreciate you saying that. You're both your greatest supporter and your greatest enemy, depending on who's got control. When your saboteurs have you, it's taking you down the path that's not going to serve you. It's not going to support you. When your sage is like running the ship, then you are going to be your highest and best self. And this is the work. You know, when we talk about fitness, we think about like going to the gym. You know, we go to gym one time and we get a result, but it's not going to last. So we got to reinforce it over and over and over. And the repetitions are what gets us that space. Because if we're repeatedly going to our saboteurs, then those neurons that are firing together are wiring together. And that becomes our go-to. And if we're constantly looking at sort of how to shift our perspective, then that training will support us in getting to that outcome. Awesome. Kevin, thank you. A little hand for Kevin. Thank you. Excellent. All right, I'm going to go back here because I have a few more slides and we'll come back. Okay, here. So every gift can be turned into an opportunity. Hold on a second. Every outcome or circumstance can be turned into a gift and an opportunity. And I want to share an extreme example of this right now. And I don't know if you are familiar with this 13-year-old girl, if you recognize her by her face. For those of you who don't know, her name is Carrie Leitner. And Carrie Leitner was coming back from a fairground and just enjoying her evening when she was hit and killed by a drunk driver. And Candy Leitner, her mother, found out that the drunk driver had just gone to jail 2 weeks prior for another DUI. Now, I don't know about you. I don't know if you have children. Some of you do, some of you don't. But as a father, that takes me to a very dark place. Because first of all, I can't even imagine one of my children dying, let alone being killed at an early stage in their life by a drunk driver. Like, to me, I can't even comprehend the level of pain that would be to lose a child in that way. And on May 3rd, 1980, this is exactly what happened to Carrie. But something interesting happened. Candy specifically asked to the judge if she could actually go in front and speak into the sentencing for this man who had killed her daughter. And what she said shocked everyone, because she said, "I forgive you." Looking directly at the person who took her daughter, "I forgive you. You deserve whatever punishment you receive, but I want you to know that in my heart, I have forgiven you." Now, think about what that would take to be able to be in that space. Candy didn't stop there. She went out and she organized. And she became the founder of Mothers Against Drunk Driving, MADD. And her work alone in California, we created the laws that we now have nationwide for intoxication, the penalties associated with it, and even the support systems that go around with people who are intoxicated and need support to get home, right? And the reason I'm sharing this with you is because what Candy did in the 10 years that followed reduced DUI fatalities by 30% nationwide. 30%. So 30% fewer people died because of this tragic death of one woman's daughter. And so now, more recent, we have George Floyd, who died not 30 days ago, was killed not 30 days ago. And what is the emotion that you feel from that? What is the experience that you have? Especially of our police. As the Washington Post reported, even amid the coronavirus pandemic and orders that kept millions at home for weeks, police have shot and killed 463 people through the first week of June. 49 more than the same period the year prior, when we didn't have coronavirus. In May, the police had shot and killed 110 people, the most in any one month since the Post began tracking such incidents. So what's the saboteur reaction? This is bad, bad, bad. And no one would blame you for feeling that way. In fact, it goes further. Anger, fear, hatred, frustration, repulsion, resignation, and hopelessness. People process this tragedy in different ways. And yet all of these saboteur reactions come from a place of negativity. And it becomes really hard to make systematic shifts, the ones that are desperately needed right now. And so the question then, what's the sage response? What is the sage response? The first is a question, to be in the question, to not try to have an answer. The sage doesn't come up, here's the answer, because it's not that simple. Yes, we have systematic pillars of racism that have existed since our country was founded. Yes, we have police brutality that has not ebbed it at all. And Black men and women, but specifically Black men disproportionately, are being killed. People of color are being killed every single year. Enough is enough. And while we experience that anger, that fear, that hatred, that frustration, the repulsion, all of those experiences, can we shift and ask the question, what else could this mean? Or is there a gift that I don't see? Now that's a hard one. I said before, every circumstance, every event can be turned into a gift or an opportunity. So here's the question. What's the gift of knowledge that would be required for George Floyd's life, his death, to actually make the transformational movement that we all are committed to seeing? What's the knowledge that we were required? If you look at the top 10 books that are being sold right now, they're all about white people and racism, white fragility, me and white supremacy. These books are all about white people trying to figure out their place in this. And of course, the response is, how do you not know? If you're a person of color, that's your question. How do you not know this? We've been struggling with this forever. How is it that you're just waking up to this now? But the knowledge is there. There's knowledge that's coming out of this. There's power. There's a shift in power. There's also inspiration that through this tragedy, there's an opportunity to be inspired by what else is possible. How do we fix this forever? Something we should have done years and years and years and decades and centuries ago. But if it actually leads to the systematic pillars of racism coming down, if it leads to a very different relationship that we have with our police, if it leads to dynamics and power shifts, then what is that? That's what we got to look at. Now, here's the thing. I want to go back to God. I'm sure a lot's coming up for you right now, and I want to talk about it. But before we do, I want to give you this gift. I want you to see how when you're feeling reacted right now in this moment, how to shift in the moment right now. And so what I'm going to ask you to do, we're going to do this first with eyes open, then we're going to do eyes closed. I want you to take your fingers just like this, and I want you to rub them together. And I want you to rub your fingertips together with such attention that you can feel the fingertip ridges as you move them back and forth. As you're doing this, thoughts are going to come up. I'm going to ask you to let go of those thoughts and focus just on what you're doing right here. And now I'm going to ask you to take your hands, take the fingertips on one hand, move it down to the palm of the other hand, back and forth, just like this. Nice and slow, and feel all the sensations of your fingertips and your palm. And let go of any thoughts you may be having. And now let's go really deep. I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. and breathe normally. And I want you to notice the temperature of the air as it enters your nostrils and the temperature of the air as it leaves your nostrils. And let go of any thoughts you may be having. And notice the rising and falling of your chest and stomach. And listen to the furthest sound that you can hear. Bring all your fine attention to the listening for the furthest sound that you can hear. Let go of any thoughts you may be having. And now listen to the closest sound that you can hear. And if that sound isn't the sound of your own breathing, please hear that now. And when you're ready, open your eyes. What did you experience? Aaron, please.
I experienced stillness and peace. I experienced calm. And beingness.
And what was in the beingness, Aaron? What were you experiencing in the beingness? If you can put it to words, it may not be possible.
I guess the stillness.
Thank you, Aaron. I appreciate you. Give Aaron a hand. Adam, you wanted to speak into it?
I was just giving Aaron acknowledgement.
Ah, got it.
I wanted to speak.
Go ahead, Zara.
As soon as you said to touch your hands and you said, let go of your thoughts, I did not have any thoughts as soon as I was rubbing my fingers, which I was surprised because I was so concentrated on examining my fingers or getting the feeling. And what I experienced was more pleasure and serenity and bliss. And then I thought, well, maybe I shouldn't even say that because we had this, example. But I truly felt like so alive and blissed out. And I felt a physical pleasure of the touch, of the hearing sensation, of breath. I was amazed how quickly I was able to get into this meditative state.
Thank you. And what Azara, let's give Azara a hand. Thank you for speaking into that. Azara, what you're speaking into is exactly the experience I was hoping you would have, because even in a tense moment, when talking about an extremely, it's an intense conversation. Racism is not something that's comfortable and easy. It is a very important conversation to have, but it's not an easy conversation to have. And what ends up happening is, the tensions rise up. And if we start getting tight in our body and we start getting angry and frustrated and we're not our best self. And so we get to make swift action. Absolutely. We get to take action on this. But at the same time, if we can drop into our bodies first and be sage, we'll know what to do. When we're experiencing anger and hatred and all the things that come up with it, we're not our best self, which means we're going to be in reaction. And going back to the first question I asked, have you ever done or said something you immediately regretted? That's where that comes from. When we're hijacked. And what happens in these moments is we get hijacked. And then we say or do something we later regret. and we actually excuse it for ourselves and others because of what happened. But we are in a place in our lives where if we can handle our circumstances and understand that outside stimuli, we can still come back to our bodies and be in that place of possibility. It shifts everything. So Zara, thank you for speaking into that, and thank you for your candor and your honesty, because that was vulnerable to be able to share, hey, this is what came up for me. Thank you for that. Awesome. Anyone else want to speak into their experience? And I'm going to put it up because I can't see everybody's hands. Yes, Carly.
Hi, thank you for having this. So what I experienced was sort of I noticed a judge happening.
Yeah.
I noticed that it was there, but then I also noticed this willingness and this desire to push that down and to get into a different mentality.
Yeah.
And then at the end, I felt relief and calm.
Beautiful. Thank you, Carly. Everyone give Carly a hand. Yay. Thank you, Carly. And this is what I came to share in the experience of mental fitness, because we can talk about it all night long, but when you realize you have simple tools that you can use anytime, anywhere. Look, when I go on stage, when I'm doing presentations, if I'm feeling any sense of nervousness or energy, I direct the energy. It's really simple. I'm able to direct the energy and I get right back into my body. And now I no longer experience the nerves. If I'm going to have an intense conversation, like I know it's going to be an intense conversation with someone, you can bet, like I'm doing this to just basically get myself in that space where I can drop into my body before I'm going to have a conversation that may get heated or may be something that I don't want it to get heated. But I know that if someone starts coming at me, I need to be able to hear it and not react to it. Tony Robbins said it this way: there's only two types of communication in the world, a loving response and a cry for help. And it can come at, fuck you, right? People can be yelling at you, but that's still a cry for help. And if we can get past the language, and if we can get past the aggression and hear underneath, what do they really need? That's the sage powers. The sage power of empathy, of curiosity, to explore what's there, to see what else is possible in that moment. Because think about it, if you fell out of a cruise ship and you were drowning, would you be like, please, sir, please, ma'am, would you please hand me a life preserver? No, you'd be like, ah, right? And that's what people experience when they're in the thick of it. So we get to understand, when we can understand what somebody's experiencing and have empathy for it, we can get underneath it. Otherwise, we're just going to be in reaction with them, and nothing good can be, nothing productive can happen. Yeah.
Hey, Bill, Olivia had her hand up.
Yeah, Olivia, please speak into it.
Thanks, Debbie, and thanks, Bill. So what's coming up for me is just feeling my fingertips for the first time.
Ah, beautiful.
I don't think I've ever felt them before, and it's really nice. And it all goes back to that the idea of pleasure, as was shared before. And I feel so grounded and at peace and in serenity, and can't wait to continue to use this tool in my life. So thank you.
Thank you, Olivia. Thank you for speaking into that. Appreciate you. Awesome. Excellent. I want to leave some time here because I want to share something more with you. So we're almost at the end here, but I want to be, there's a couple more things I want to just take you through that will support this entire journey. So these PQ reps can be done in as little as 10 seconds. This right here will immediately calm you down, even as little as 10 seconds. And the reason I'm sharing that with you is because I know experts in yoga and meditative practices and all kinds of mindfulness training who have found tremendous value out of this work, because it's really one thing in the morning and night when you're meditating. I'm a meditator. I love to meditate. When you drop into your body in the morning or at night, that's one thing, and it's helpful and it's great and it gets you centered and focused. But can you do it in the middle of an argument, or when you're experiencing an argument or hostility? Can you do it when you realize that you're about to make a choice that maybe you shouldn't, or you're about to send an email that you might regret? Can you make a shift? These simple things can help you shift in the moment so that you don't make the mistakes that you don't want to be making or have regrets. So this is the simplicity of the mental fitness operating system. If you're feeling negative emotions, just stop. You're in saboteur mode. Do some PQ reps to quiet your saboteurs and activate your sage. Assume the sage perspective that every problem can be converted into a gift or an opportunity. That's my challenge for you. Just even this week, look for the biggest, hairiest problems in your life and ask the question, what's the gift? For so many people that are waiting to come back from the coronavirus, to me, it was one of the greatest gifts. I got to be able to do Zoom calls, connect with people internationally all over both the US and the world, basically electronically. And it's shown a whole different possibility of how I can do my trainings and my coaching work. I mean, there's a gift in that. And so where are the other gifts? And then create that gift or generate that gift by using the sage powers like empathy, curiosity, creativity, calm, clear-headed action. And so being a sage is not this blissful place of inaction. I want to be clear about that. You can experience bliss, but the sage knows when to act. And so it's both a calming effect that allows you to be in deep action. So the question is it really possible to just shift from saboteur to sage response even in these tough challenges? The answer is yes, but the speed and depth of this shift depends on your mental muscle strength. So think about this. If you can lift a 5-pound weight and curl a 5-pound weight, and you run into a 25-pound problem, can't do it. But if you're constantly curling 20, 30-pound weights and you come in with a 10-pound problem, no problem. So it comes down to the mental muscle strength. Lasting positive change is only 20% insight. This is what we hear all the time, especially in trainings. Oh, I got it. I understand, I got it. And you don't got it. You have some tools, but the idea of the insight was tonight. I wanted to give you this insight. That is my gift. If you practice the tools, you'll get the results. If you want to read the book, you can do that too. But mental muscle is about repetitions. And so the first thing I want to give everyone here is I would love for you to have an experience of who your saboteurs are. And so if you end up going to positiveintelligence.com/assessments, right? You can actually get it's a free service, 5-minute assessment, take 5 minutes, answer the questions, you'll immediately get your assessment results back. So if you want to, please take a screenshot of this screen if you'd like, and that will give you an opportunity to go find it. And I'll also ask if somebody wants to put this in the chat, or I'll do it afterwards. But by all means, this is a great tool to give you a sense of who your biggest saboteurs are. And just doing that is like putting your toe in the water, right? My invitation to you is to take the plunge, to go all in with mental fitness for a short period of time. Immersion is how we learn things. You know, when we dabble, we get a sense of what it is, but we don't really get the benefit. When we immerse ourselves, that's when we get the full benefit. So the PQ program itself is for 6 weeks. You do a weekly 1-hour video session, usually Saturday, Sunday, Monday. You watch for 1 hour. And then you have the exclusive app guiding you through your daily practices. So each time what you're going to do, Debbie, can you mute that phone, please? Thank you. Then you have the you have exclusive app using daily practices where you're basically doing 15 minutes spread out over the entire day. 2 minutes in the morning, 3 hours later, 3 hours later, 3 hours later. So you get 15 minutes total. But what it's doing is it's building your mental muscle. And then you have the interactive PQ gym, which essentially allows you to go deep. So if you know you have a big presentation or you've got a conversation that you want to gear up for and really be completely focused and centered in your sage, they have 2, 5, and 15-minute exercises, just like we did, that will help you really reinforce. They're all guided. You can do them while moving, sitting, standing, whatever it is, as well as a community of support where you share your experiences during the 6-week period. So to recap, it's a 6-week duration. 1 hour weekly video on the weekend or on Monday, 15 minutes per day of practice on the app, read 8 chapters of Positive Intelligence book. It's a PDF that is provided, and through the app, continue to receive mental fitness coaching for the entire year. Now, I'm sharing this with you because that may seem like a lot, because it is an immersive program. But if you actually allocate, even just during that 6 weeks, you're talking about 1.5 to 3% of your waking hours. We all have 168 hours a week. This is not a tremendous amount of time to make a shift and create mental fitness in a way that you have for the rest of your life. And if you go onto the actual website of positiveintelligence.com, you'll see that this week-long program is $1,000 for the week. But that's not what I'm here to share with you. I want to tell you what it is so you have a context. What I'm doing right now is a fundraiser for our Altru students, which is anybody who wants to take an Altru training, which I'll talk about in just a second. You can take this, you can sign up for this 6-week program, which is a $1,000 program for $200, $199, right? You can go on to billcarmody.com/Altru to get this offer if you want to do it that way. You could also send $199 via Venmo to @BillCarmody or the Cash App $Bill Carmody. And go ahead and take a screenshot of this so you have these links if this is something you're interested in. I know on a Mac it's Command-Shift-3, and I don't know on a PC if you want to put that in the chat. If you have a PC, you know, I used to know that, I don't anymore. But this is what I want to share with you is 100% of these proceeds goes to the students who are going through Altru training. So what is an Altru training? I actually spent 2 years of my life doing a tremendous amount of work with Tony Robbins. I went to every single event that he had, from Unleash the Power Within to Business Mastery, Life and Wealth Mastery, Leadership Academy, the whole 9. And it was an amazing experience. And so when somebody first introduced me to Altru, I'm like, I got this. I don't need any more help in transformation. It's awesome. It's fine. I got what I need from the Tony Robbins experience. And boy, was I wrong. I'm really glad that I actually had someone be a stand for me. For those of you who know Rob Israel, and the ability to actually go through and get this. Paula Jennings was the one who first introduced me to this. And so these were my individuals that really got me into experiencing this. Just like we're talking about the deep dive into the pool of mental fitness, if you're really looking to take your life on and look at the entire transformation of what's possible, the Altru Center has a virtual intro event tomorrow night. And so that's going to be at 7 p.m. Eastern time, which is 4 o'clock Pacific time. And it's free. But registration is required. And so if you want to go to altrucenter.org, at Altru Center, then you can absolutely find out more details on this. So I want to just give this up as an opportunity for everyone to hear it. And then I'm gonna stop sharing. And by the way, you can take a screenshot of this if you want to know more information on this one. And we have about 5 minutes left. And so if you have any questions about either the offer or Altru or anything else I can share to wrap this up for tonight, I would love to be able to answer any questions you may have. Oh, sorry, one more thing. Do I hear, I know that Nick, Sharmishta, and also Gabriella, I believe all 3 of you are on. You've already taken the program. Does either one of the 3 of you want to talk about your experiences with the 6-week program? Yes, Nick, go ahead. And then Gabriella, I'll come right back to you. Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, I'll be quick. Hi, everybody. Just clearing my throat here because I get to talk about this awesome course. What I've really gotten out of it, right? Gabriella, Sharmishta, and I are in week 3. And I would say that the biggest shift for me has been first the insight to understand when my judge is hijacking the situation, hijacking my level of presence and an understanding of what's possible and what I can create from the situation. The second piece is that I have a deeper level of presence. I'm a healthcare provider. I'm a physical therapist. I've even had the opportunity to coach some of my clients when they're experiencing intense pain to be like, hey, just take a moment, breathe, put your hand on your belly, notice your diaphragm in your belly going in and out, notice the temperature of the air as it goes into and out of your nose. And it's a way to kind of calm them down. I've added it as another modality for my physical therapy practice, which has been pretty cool. And even when I'm treating patients, and I work in a very high stress environment, for me to just take 10 seconds every time that I can to bring my attention to a particular thing, to a sensation that I'm feeling, to something that I'm seeing, to my hearing, I feel that I'm experiencing a greater fullness of my life. And it's something that I've always, I've gone through a bunch of Altru trainings. I have done a lot of really intensive work. Bill's one of my coaches, Rob Israel, one of my coaches, and a lot of you have been one of my coaches on this call. This is something that is an entirely new space for me, and I'm eating it up. I love it. The book is awesome. The apps are great. I give it 5+ stars, and I recommend you to try it out.
Thank you, Nick. Everyone give Nick a hand. Thank you for speaking into that. Yay, Nick. Woo! Gabrielle, I heard you speak up. Did you want to jump in?
Yes, Bill, thank you. I'm really enjoying the program. It's really helping me to become more present in every aspect of my life. And it's also helping me to become more present in my thoughts and being able to take control of my thoughts. So thank you so much, Bill, for introducing me to this opportunity as well. And I'm just very grateful to be a part of the program, and it's really helping me. So thank you.
Thank you, Gabriella. Give Gabriella a hand. Yay, Gabriella. Thank you, thank you. And then Sharmishta, you do not have to speak. If you want to, by all means, jump in. If not, that's totally fine.
I would like to.
Okay.
So I just noticed that my saboteur is an avoider saboteur and doesn't want to speak up. So in moments like this, I sort of get to see, okay, who's ruling my thoughts? Is it my sage or is it my saboteur? And this has been really the next step after Altru. And what it has made for me is that each moment feels like real, enjoying each moment to its fullest, being present in each moment and just observing yourself, acting or taking an action. So, and then putting me in a choice position, what do I get to do from here? So it's really, really helpful, and having a support group of Small Pod is really helpful. And it's a really awesome course, and I absolutely 100% vouch for that everybody should take it.
Thank you, Sharmishta. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, so as we wrap up here, there's one other thing that I wanted to leave you with, and that is a song. And the reason I want to play this song right now is because I find, in addition to these PQ reps, music has been a really big part of my life. My mom is here. Mom, say hi. Can you take yourself off mute and say hi? This is Mary Jo Carmody.
Hi, Mary Jo.
Oh, maybe I'll spotlight you. I can't see you. Here we go.
There we go. Hi. Sorry,
Hello.
I was muted.
Awesome. So my mom is here. My dad, I'm coming to you. Oh, I can't see what. No, he didn't come in as William Carter. Hey, Dad, say something. Maybe you don't want to.
It's got as Bill Carmody's iPhone.
Yeah. Okay, that's what it was. Hold on. No. Oh, anyway, I'm not going to mess with it. But I am really happy to have my family on right now, and they're all big into music. So my mom and my dad were both music teachers. My brother, Brian, if you want to say hi, feel free. He's a PhD in music education and one of the best jazz drummers I've ever.
Hello, everybody. Hello.
Hello.
My internet's a little spotty, so I've been having my video off, so I get less glitches.
Beautiful. Thank you, Brian. Thanks for speaking into that. So my entire musical family is here, and so I want to end tonight because we're at time. I'm going to end this song with a song. So by all means, you're welcome to drop off anytime you want. But I find that this is another way. It's a variation of PQ repping. When you hear the sound and you really connect with it, it really is another way for us to put ourselves back into Sage. So Donna, are you good with that? You want me to play?
I thought Debbie was handling the song. I'm so sorry. Debbie, you have it?
I don't have it.
I got it. Don't worry. Thank you, team. Give me 1 second.
Breakdown, yes.
No, it's perfect. It's all perfect. Hold on 1 second. I want to just make sure that that's coming through here.
It sounded good, Bill.
Okay, good. Here we go.
You feel a burning in your chest. You know you're different than the rest. And sometimes it makes it feel like you could cry. When you're looking at the world through the heart that's on your sleeve, rather than your saline eyes. And sometimes it scares you to death. And sometimes it stops you in your tracks. And sometimes it makes it feel like you're pushing for nothing. And then everything gets quiet and the world moves in slow motion. And that little voice inside you whispers, do something. This is your call. You're called to be the one who will inspire. And mountains turn to fire that shines brighter than the sun. And you will not waver. You will stand tall. You will be brave. You're gonna be the difference between loving and resistance. So hear me when I say, you are able, you're willing, you're strong. And this is your call, yes. This is your call, yes. You hear the thunder in your voice. You know you have no other choice but to open up your mouth and just let it fly. When you look down at your hands and you know the best laid plans are the ones that push you up from deep inside. And they'll try to make you believe that you cannot question what you see, that you should just lay low. But no one's ever sown a seed without breaking up the ground. And no one's ever made history by settling for status quo. This is your call. You're called to be the one who will inspire. And mountains turn to fire that shines brighter than the sun. And you will not waver. You will stand tall. You will be brave. You're gonna be the difference between loving and resistance. So hear me when I say, you are able, you're willing, you're strong. And this is your call, yes. This is your call, yes. So be the love, and love will be. Be the change you wanna see. Wear what makes you feel good. Take who you want to prom. And I will sit with you till there's liberty and justice for all. This is your call.
Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening. I love you all. Thank you for being here with me tonight. I appreciate you. Oops. There we go.
Thank you, Bill.
Bill, you are the world's best enroller.
Thank you, Azara. Right back at you. Thanks. And we got Betty Sproul in the house. Thank you, Betty. Thank you for being
Hi, Betty.
here tonight. Thank you. All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night, Bill. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Good night, everyone.